Above the Thunder Lake, a graceful figure stood with poise. Draped in a flowing white dress, the contours of her tall and slender frame hinted at an enchanting allure. This was Lu Xiangshuan, a woman of exceptional beauty, one of the few Lin Dong had encountered whose looks could rival those of Ling Qingzhu. However, the two women's temperaments could not have been more different. Ling Qingzhu was cold and aloof, radiating an icy pride that made her interactions seem distant. Yet, once someone pierced through that exterior, they would find an unexpected softness hidden beneath. In contrast, Lu Xiangshuan's demeanor was gentle, even serene, with a purity that naturally invited people to draw near. But deep within her eyes, there lurked a detached indifference, a coldness that kept others at arm's length. Lin Dong's brow furrowed slightly as he gazed at Lu Xiangshuan, standing atop the Thunder Lake. He hadn't expected her to show up here, and judging by her earlier moves, it was clear that she too coveted the heart of thunder that had emerged. "Miss Lu," Lin Dong said calmly, casting a quick glance at the radiant heart of thunder hovering nearby. "Everything has its proper order. Making a sudden move like that seems a bit out of line, doesn't it?" As he spoke, Lin Dong's gaze swept over the group of figures standing behind Lu Xiangshuan. They were experts from the Xintian Palace, though fewer in number than when they had first entered the cave mansion. It seemed some had split off to search for treasures elsewhere. Lu Xiangshuan responded with a smile, her beauty radiant and disarming. "You're being too serious, Brother Lin. This mansion belongs to no one. If treasure were distributed based on who arrived first, wouldn't this whole venture become nothing more than a race of speed?" Lin Dong's brow arched slightly. This woman was sharp. Her words left him with little room for argument. After all, in places like these, the ownership of treasure ultimately came down to strength, not propriety. "Well, Miss Lu, you do make a fair point." Lin Dong grinned, unbothered by her reasoning. "In that case, I won't stand on ceremony either." Without hesitation, he took a step forward, his hand shooting toward the floating heart of thunder. "Stop, you brat. How dare you?" A thunderous shout echoed from behind Lu Xiangshuan, and four men clad in gleaming silver armor charged forward, their long spears gleaming with deadly intent. The four surged toward Lin Dong with lightning speed, intent on surrounding him. Swish! But just as they made their move, a petite figure darted forward, Mu Lingshan. She swung the life and death coffin lid in a wide arc, unleashing a wave of black energy that slammed fiercely against the four spears. Clang! The sound of metal clashing echoed across the lake, sending violent shockwaves outward. Even the Thunder Lake beneath them rippled from the force of the impact. The four armored men staggered backward, their faces filled with shock. They clearly hadn't expected that this cute, pigtailed girl could wield such terrifying strength. While Mu Lingshan held off the four attackers, Lin Dong's hand closed around the heart of thunder. As he grasped it, arcs of electricity danced across his palm, making his hand tingle with numbness. Just as Lin Dong secured the heart of thunder, a delicate fragrance drifted toward him. He looked up to see Lu Xiangshuan sweeping toward him with graceful precision. Her slender fingers came together, and a brilliant white light gathered at their tips. In an instant, her fingers tore through space like a lightning strike, aiming directly for Lin Dong's chest. Lin Dong reacted swiftly. His body flickered with green light as he retreated several steps, narrowly avoiding her piercing attack. A cold glint flashed in his eyes, and his hand clenched into a fist. Green dragon patterns surged along his arm, and with a roar, he unleashed a powerful punch. Roar! A low dragon's growl echoed as the energy left Lin Dong's fist, transforming into a massive azure light dragon. The dragon surged forward with immense force, charging straight toward Lu Xiangshuan. Lin Dong's attack showed no sign of restraint. He wasn't about to hold back just because his opponent was a woman. Holding back now would only invite trouble, for Lu Xiangshuan was no ordinary opponent. The force of his punch tore a massive rift, several dozen meters long, into the surface of the Thunder Lake below. Sparks of lightning flickered within the gash, and thunder rumbled ominously from its depths. Lu Xiangshuan's eyes flickered with a trace of surprise as she watched the fierce blow hurtling toward her. But she didn't panic. With a graceful twist of her wrist, a shimmering object materialized in her hand, a jade umbrella glowing with a soft, white light. With a flick of her wrist, the umbrella opened wide. Tiny jade bells, dangling from its edges, chimed softly as the umbrella spun. Rings of strange white light rippled across the surface of the umbrella, radiating outward in mesmerizing patterns. The azure dragon light fist struck heavily on the white jade umbrella, causing a flash of white light. Lin Dong was momentarily stunned to see that the fist suddenly reversed direction, heading straight back toward him. The white jade umbrella in Lu Xiangxuan's hand had the incredible ability to reflect attacks. Lin Dong reached out, caught the rebounding azure dragon light fist, and crushed it with his bare hands. His expression turned serious as he looked at the beautiful woman standing gracefully with the umbrella in hand. As expected of the saintess of Xinyan Palace, that umbrella must be a powerful, pure, primordial treasure. Lin Dong's gaze fixed on the white jade umbrella in Lu Xiangxuan's hand. The energy it radiated confirmed that it was indeed a pure, primordial treasure, at least of a mid-grade level. This umbrella is called the Phantasmal Holy Spirit Umbrella, Lu Xiangxuan explained with a smile. It can reflect some attacks back to their source. I know Brother Lin possesses formidable physical strength, but even you might lose some of your power against my treasure. Lin Dong smiled, keeping his eyes on Lu Xiangxuan. Then he raised his hand, revealing the heart of thunder he held. This treasure of yours is indeed impressive, but now it's in my hands. As his words fell, a surge of devouring energy erupted from his palm. The heart of thunder flashed and instantly transformed into a pure, vast tide of thunderous energy, which flowed into his body like a crashing wave. Zzz. As Lin Dong absorbed the power of the heart of thunder, sparks of lightning flashed on the surface of his body, making his hair stand on end. He ignored Lu Xiangxuan's reaction, focusing on the rapid surge of devouring power inside him, which quickly swallowed the massive influx of thunder energy. For an ordinary person, absorbing the power of the heart of thunder would require a quiet place for gradual refinement. But for Lin Dong, equipped with the devouring ancestral talisman, this wasn't necessary. The devouring energy worked swiftly, converting all incoming energy into his own strength. Screech. As the immense thunder energy was gradually consumed, Lin Dong could feel his muscles and cells rejoicing, greedily absorbing the power that was strengthening them. Buzz. Just as the thunder energy surged within Lin Dong, he suddenly felt an exceptionally pure stream of energy coursing through his meridians, heading straight for his brow. Within his brow, Lin Dong had once cultivated a martial art from the Dao sect's desolation hall called the Wild Demon Eye. However, as his strength had increased, the technique had gradually fallen out of use because it no longer met his needs. But now, the dormant wild demon eye hidden in his brow was being invaded by the pure thunder energy. The once closed, dark gray eye began to flicker with traces of lightning. Lin Dong could feel that under the assault of this pure thunder energy, the wild demon eye was undergoing some sort of strange transformation. Though lightning flashed across the eye, it didn't fully open. It seemed that the power of just one heart of thunder wasn't enough to fully enhance the wild demon eye. Sensing this, Lin Dong sighed slightly in disappointment. Then, the lightning around him gradually faded as the power of the devouring ancestral talisman allowed him to swiftly absorb all the energy from the heart of thunder. You actually absorbed the heart of thunder? Lu Xiangxuan's beautiful face showed a rare trace of shock. She had been watching Lin Dong's reckless actions with cold amusement, but within mere minutes, he had completely absorbed the heart of thunder. Heh! It seems I was meant to have this treasure, Lin Dong chuckled, teasingly. Now that he had absorbed the heart of thunder, if Lu Xiangxuan wanted it back, she would have to swallow him whole. A flicker of anger flashed in Lu Xiangxuan's eyes, but her composure soon returned. She calmly replied, "It seems Brother Lin's methods are indeed extraordinary, to have absorbed the heart of thunder so quickly." Lin Dong merely smiled without further comment. He gestured, preparing to leave with Mu Lingshan. Whoosh! But just as Lin Dong was about to retreat, the previously calm thunder lake stirred again, sending ripples across its surface. To his and Lu Xiangshuan's astonishment, another heart of thunder, wrapped in crackling lightning, slowly rose from the depths. Lin Dong's hand froze in midair, his gaze locked in disbelief. Then, his eyes suddenly burned with intensity, not toward the newly risen heart of thunder, but toward the depths of the lake itself. A vortex formed in the thunder lake, and a silver orb of light slowly rose from within, quietly hovering in the air, drawing the slightly dazed gaze of Lin Dong and Lu Xiangshuan. Another heart of thunder. Behind Lu Xiangshuan, the experts from Xintian Palace stared in disbelief. No one had expected another heart of thunder to emerge from the lake. Their surprise only lasted a moment before they turned their wary gazes towards Lin Dong and Lu Xiangshuan. Lin Dong had already claimed one heart of thunder, so the next one, they thought, must belong to Xintian Palace. As they eyed Lin Dong with growing caution, Lu Xiangshuan suddenly smiled warmly, waving her delicate hand as her bright eyes fixed on him. "Brother Lin, it seems this thunder lake is far from simple." Lu Xiangshuan, sharp and perceptive, knew the scene before her defied common logic. The heart of thunder was incredibly rare, yet two had appeared in quick succession. What could that possibly mean? Her gleaming eyes slowly drifted toward the endless expanse of Thunder Lake, an unspoken realization dawning. There was something immense hidden beneath its surface. Lin Dong withdrew his gaze from the heart of thunder and smiled slightly. "Seems like we're in for some good luck." "Then, I'll be taking this one," Lu Xiangshuan said with a smile. Her hand reaching out as a force of suction pulled the nearby heart of thunder into her grasp. Lin Dong watched, his eyes flickering, but he didn't make a move. Lu Xiangshuan's group was strong, and a direct confrontation would be troublesome. Besides, his curiosity about what lay beneath Thunder Lake far outweighed any desire for conflict. What could be causing the continuous rise of hearts of thunder? As Lu Xiangshuan toyed with the heart of thunder in her hand, she flashed a charming smile at Lin Dong, just as she was about to speak. Suddenly, her brow furrowed, and she turned her head. In the sky not far away, the sound of rushing wind filled the air. "Haha, Xiangshuan, your luck's quite remarkable. You've only just arrived and already secured a heart of thunder." A laugh echoed from the distance as a group swiftly approached, stopping in midair above the lake. Leading them was none other than Pang Hao of the Nine Nether Sect. More whistling sounds followed, as more figures rushed over, all drawn by the commotion. These were other powerful figures from various factions, each racing toward the lake. Lin Dong frowned slightly as he watched the newcomers, feeling a twinge of frustration. The Thunder Lake had drawn too much attention, and now that the other strong practitioners sensed its energy, they were all converging here. As soon as the newly arrived powerhouses appeared, their eyes locked onto the heart of thunder in Lu Xiangshuan's hand, greed lighting up their faces. Yet none of them acted rashly. The strength of the Xintian Palace members behind her was too formidable to be underestimated. Lu Xiangshuan glanced at the smiling Pang Hao, her brow creasing slightly as she eyed the growing number of experts. Her gaze then shifted toward Lin Dong, whose expression remained calm and unreadable, revealing nothing of his inner thoughts. With Lin Dong remaining silent, Lu Xiangshuan also chose not to speak. Surrounded by so many covetous eyes, was she supposed to reveal the peculiarities of Thunder Lake to everyone? Just as the tension hung in the air between Lin Dong and Lu Xiangshuan, ripples once again spread across the surface of the lake. Another vortex began to form, slowly swirling into shape. Sigh. Both Lin Dong and Lu Xiangshuan couldn't help but sigh inwardly as they witnessed the scene. It seemed this Thunder Lake truly thrived on chaos. The ripples on the lake caught Pang Hao's attention, along with the other newly arrived experts. They stared in surprise, watching as another orb, crackling with lightning, wobbled up from the depths of the vortex. A heart of thunder. The moment the orb appeared, the eyes of the powerhouses went wide, bloodshot with intensity. In the blink of an eye, a surge of primordial energy erupted from all sides as figures shot forward, scrambling to seize the heart of thunder. Dozens of figures, radiating powerful primordial energy, clashed violently in midair. The thunderous collision of energy triggered a fierce and bloody battle. Cries of pain filled the air as figures were sent flying, blood spraying from their wounds, their faces twisted with unwilling defeat, like gamblers who had just lost everything. Lin Dong watched the slaughter unfold with cold indifference. The battle was brutal, but didn't last long. Although this powerhouse had reached perfect completion of the life mystique stage, his formidable strength was still not enough to escape the fierce battle unscathed. His breath now weakened, a clear sign of the brutal attacks he had endured. Pop! Just as the victorious warrior who had seized the heart of thunder burst into laughter, ripples appeared across the Thunder Lake. 2 more whirlpools emerged, and from within, 2 additional hearts of thunder surfaced, glowing brilliantly. The laughter abruptly stopped. The life mystique expert stared, wide-eyed and slack-jawed, at the unexpected appearance of the 2 hearts of thunder. He was utterly dumbfounded, as if unable to comprehend why such a rare treasure would appear here like common vegetables, sprouting one after another. Boom! The emergence of the 2 new hearts of thunder caused an uproar among the onlookers. Faces reflected confusion, as no one seemed to understand the strange scene unfolding before them. For a moment, no one dared to make a move. "It seems there's something unusual beneath this Thunder Lake," remarked Peng Hao, his gaze flashing as he looked meaningfully at Lin Dong and Lu Xiangshuan. Lin Dong let out a slow breath, meeting Lu Xiangshuan's eyes. Both exchanged helpless smiles. Clearly, their hopes of claiming the treasure for themselves were dashed. "Ling Shan now?" Lin Dong's low command left his mouth almost instantly. In the blink of an eye, a green light enveloped him, and without hesitation, he dashed into Thunder Lake. Simultaneously, Lu Xiangshuan, wrapped in white light, followed suit, her graceful figure diving into the lake. Splash! Splash! Moments later, Mu Lingshan and several Xintian Palace experts also sprang into action, the sound of bodies hitting the water echoing as they plunged into Thunder Lake. "Interesting. Let's go." Peng Hao chuckled and gestured, his figure diving swiftly into the lake. It was clear that the real treasure lay beneath the surface. To the bottom. The treasure is down there. Greed flared in the eyes of the surrounding experts, and they finally snapped back to reality. The sounds of more people entering the lake resounded in quick succession. In an instant, what was once the quiet Thunder Lake became a scene of frenzied activity. Lin Dong paid no attention to the commotion around him. The secret of Thunder Lake was clearly out, so his priority was to find out what was hidden below and seize it before it was too late. Shrouded in green light, Lin Dong propelled himself through the lake with incredible speed, heading straight for the bottom. He was eager to uncover the mystery of this lake that seemed capable of endlessly producing hearts of thunder. The Thunder Lake wasn't filled with ordinary water. Instead, it was composed of silvery thunder slurry, with countless flashes of lightning flickering through it. There was a fierce, violent energy in the air, adding to the lake's danger. The green light around Lin Dong crackled as it collided with the electric energy in the slurry. Even with his strength, he remained cautious. One misstep here could easily leave him charred and lifeless. Despite his confidence, Lin Dong maintained a constant sense of vigilance. Mu Lingshan followed closely behind him, with a horde of experts not far behind. They all seemed aware that something extraordinary was hidden beneath the lake's surface. Lin Dong glanced back, slightly frowning at the number of people joining the race for the treasure. Shaking his head with a sigh, he thought, "There's no avoiding it now. It's every person for themselves." Turning his attention back to the lake bed, Lin Dong continued his rapid descent. As he ventured deeper, he began to realize just how vast the Thunder Lake was. The terrain below was incredibly peculiar, with towering silver rocks forming reef-like structures that stretched endlessly in all directions. He darted between these formations, his sharp gaze scanning his surroundings. After some time, his instincts alerted him to a surge of energy below. His eyes snapped downward, where a silvery whirlpool had appeared, releasing an intense energy fluctuation. At the center of the whirlpool, a glowing orb of lightning began to rise, another heart of thunder. Swish! Without hesitation, Lin Dong shot forward. However, just as he was about to reach it, he abruptly halted. His expression shifted to one of shock as he gazed below. A vast ravine of thunder rock stretched before him, its depths unfathomable, as though it connected to the very core of the earth. Along the walls of the ravine, numerous stone caves were illuminated by the lake's reflective surface. The shadows of these figures stood lifeless. Lin Dong's gaze carried a trace of astonishment as he stared into the seemingly bottomless Thunder Rock ravine. So, this must be the source of the continuous emergence of the hearts of thunder? His figure drifted closer to the ravine, eventually hovering before the entrance of a stone cave. From this distance, he could now clearly see the figures sitting cross-legged inside. However, these figures had long withered away, reduced to nothing but skin and bones. Their bodies radiated with the color of lightning, and Lin Dong could sense an extraordinarily compressed and refined thunder energy within them. It was clear that, over the countless years they had spent in seated meditation, every inch of their skin had been penetrated by thunder energy. The intense water pressure here only heightened the process, transforming their bodies into mummified husks formed entirely from condensed thunder energy. Lin Dong's gaze lingered on these nearly thunder-infused corpses before his expression shifted. His attention turned toward the abdomen of one of the dried bodies, where he noticed a faint trace of malevolent black aura swirling. Yet, this black aura was firmly sealed and suppressed by the pure thunder energy, preventing it from seizing control of the corpses, unlike the mindless, rampaging undead Lin Dong had encountered earlier. They chose to perish here intentionally, using the thunder energy from this lake to purge the invading alien demon aura from their bodies and prevent themselves from becoming those mindless corpses upon death. Lin Dong's eyes flickered as the pieces began to fit together, leaving him with a sense of admiration. These warriors were undeniably worthy of respect. Rather than succumb to the corruption, they had willingly chosen to meditate at the bottom of this thunder-filled lake, allowing their bodies to transform into pure thunder. Boom! Suddenly, a faint clap of thunder echoed from one of the nearby caves. Lin Dong's eyes locked onto a silver corpse within it, which erupted in a brilliant burst of lightning. The thunder energy raged inside its body, resembling a miniature sun in its brilliance. Bang! Without warning, the silver corpse exploded, and from within the remnants, a glowing silver orb slowly floated upward. In the center of the orb, a silver heart pulsated steadily. This was none other than the heart of thunder. Lin Dong exhaled deeply, realizing at last why these hearts of thunder continuously surfaced from the depths of the lake. It was the result of these warriors sitting in meditation for centuries, their bodies refined by thunder energy until only the essence, these hearts of thunder, remained. And when each heart of thunder was formed, it completely eradicated the last vestiges of the alien demon aura lingering within their bodies. They managed to fulfill their final wish in death, Lin Dong murmured softly. So this is how the hearts of thunder are born, he said with a mix of realization and awe. At that moment, surprised voices echoed from behind him. Lin Dong turned his head to see Lu Xiangshuan, Pang Hao, and other powerful figures from various factions arriving at the ravine. Their eyes filled with astonishment as they witnessed the scene before them. It's unbelievable. If all these silver corpses can transform into hearts of thunder, just imagine how terrifying that would be. Haha, we've stumbled upon a treasure trove. In the outside world, these hearts of thunder are incredibly rare, but here, they're everywhere. Indeed, if we can harvest just a few of these, this trip will be worth it. The eyes of the gathered powerhouses burned with greed as they gazed at the numerous stone caves lining both sides of the ravine. Their expressions betrayed an unrestrained desire for the thunder hearts. Whispers and murmurs spread among the group until, inevitably, someone gave in to temptation and dashed toward the stone caves within the ravine. Boom, boom, boom. Their actions triggered a chain reaction. The disturbance seemed to push the silver corpses to the brink, and one after another, they exploded in bursts of lightning. Countless hearts of thunder, gleaming with enticing thunderlight, slowly floated into the air. Each time a heart of thunder appeared, the surrounding warriors turned feral, fighting one another with wild abandon. Chaos erupted throughout the Thunder Rock ravine as the struggle for the precious thunder hearts escalated into an all-out melee. Lin Dong frowned at the unfolding pandemonium. Turning to Mu Lingshan, he gestured for her to join him at his side. We should collect some hearts of thunder ourselves. These things will greatly benefit your cultivation, Lin Dong said. As a member of the sea monster clan, Mu Lingshan had a naturally powerful physique. If she could obtain a few of these hearts of thunder, it would further enhance her already formidable body. Lin Dong, too, had a need for these hearts. He wanted to see how far he could push the limits of the wild demon eye that lay between his brows. Mu Lingshan nodded excitedly, clearly fond of treasure hunting. The two of them moved almost simultaneously, darting into the vast Thunder Rock ravine. With swift and precise motions, they began collecting the hearts of thunder that floated up, quickly stashing them away. Meanwhile, as Lin Dong and Mu Lingshan worked, other major factions like Pang Hao's and Lu Xiangshuan's couldn't hold back any longer. The sound of wind splitting filled the air as they rushed straight into the ravine, using all sorts of methods to snatch the hearts of thunder for themselves. As the competition intensified, bloodshed inevitably followed. In less than 10 minutes, someone had already been killed in the struggle. Blood spread through the thunder slurry, adding a faint stench of death to the ravine. Yet, while everyone was fighting fiercely for the hearts of thunder, no one noticed the changes happening deeper in the ravine. In some hidden stone caves, the silver corpses, unusually robust and dormant for so long, were starting to stir. The scent of blood seemed to awaken something within them, as strands of eerie black mist began to rise silently from their bodies. Especially at the very bottom of the ravine, there lay an enormous cave. Inside, a towering silver figure, sitting cross-legged, was covered in sinister black demon markings. The figure's eyes, which had been closed for what seemed like a millennium, trembled slightly, as though a devil was about to awaken. Lin Dong's hand formed a claw, and with a sudden surge of power, a heart of thunder that had just floated out of a stone cave was pulled toward him. He caught it effortlessly. Fourth one. Feeling the pure thunder energy surging within the heart of thunder in his grasp, Lin Dong's eyes flickered with excitement. In just 10 minutes, he had already collected 4 of them, a remarkable harvest by any standard. Stowing away the heart of thunder, Lin Dong glanced over at Mu Lingshan, who was eagerly searching for more. In the distance, violent waves of primordial energy could be felt, accompanied by the faint sounds of fierce battles. Although there were quite a few silver corpses in the ravine, not every one of them would transform into a heart of thunder. As a result, the number of hearts of thunder was far from enough to satisfy the insatiable greed of everyone present. No one would ever think they had too many of these treasures. What's more, it was obvious that news of the hearts of thunder was spreading. Lin Dong could see that more and more unfamiliar powerhouses, their eyes blazing with desire, were charging into the Thunder Lake, heading straight for the ravine. Clearly, many strong contenders had caught wind of the opportunity and were rushing here to seize the hearts of thunder. With so many competitors and so few treasures, bloody clashes were inevitable. For the moment, Lin Dong and Mu Lingshan were left undisturbed, as their reputation had preceded them, and people were wary of making trouble. But Lin Dong knew this was only temporary. Once the number of hearts of thunder available dwindled, reason would give way to greed, and the stronger fighters would be less inclined to avoid conflict. A fierce battle was inevitable. Lin Dong pressed his lips together, a sharp glint flashing in his eyes. He was content to be left in peace, but if anyone dared to target the hearts of thunder in his possession, he'd have no choice but to teach them a painful lesson. Thinking of this, he turned his attention back to the ravine and moved deeper into it. The outer areas had already been stripped of most of the hearts of thunder. Not far behind, Pang Hao's expression remained calm as he watched Lin Dong and Mu Lingshan venture deeper into the ravine. A malicious glint flashed across his eyes. Heh, those two have collected nearly 10 hearts of thunder, not much less than us, a man standing beside Pang Hao sneered. He was one of the 3 who had clashed with Mu Lingshan in Stone City and one of the 4 demon generals of the 9 Nether sect. His strength was not to be underestimated. Let them gather a bit more for now, Pang Hao said with a cold smile. Once they've collected enough, I'll make sure they hand it all over to me. Though Lin Dong and Mu Lingshan's strength had slightly exceeded Pang Hao's expectations, he wasn't deterred. To him, they were still a pair of lone wolves foolish enough to think they could compete with the Nine Nether sect. It was laughable. For now, focus on collecting as many Hearts of Thunder as possible. Pang Hao ordered, his voice icy. Anyone who tries to take them from us, kill them. At his command, the Nine Nether sect fighters' eyes flashed with murderous intent. Lindong was unaware of some of the schemes brewing within the Nine Nether sect. At that moment, he was gradually venturing deeper into the Thunder Rock ravine. Over the next 10 minutes or so, he collected 2 more Hearts of Thunder. However, as he descended further, he began to frown, sensing something was amiss. The deeper he went, the more concentrated the alien demon aura inside the silver corpses became. Clearly, these warriors had suffered greater corruption before their deaths compared to those they had encountered earlier. This cave mansion sect must have been quite dominant in its time. Judging by its size and the sheer number of structures, it was not any weaker than a top-tier sect. Yet, it still fell to the alien demon invasion. Hee hee, Lindong. I've collected 6 Hearts of Thunder. Mu Lingshan chirped as she came up to him. In her small hand, 2 more glowing Hearts of Thunder floated, showing that her harvest had been considerable. Lindong smiled when he heard her. Just as he was about to respond, his expression darkened, and he slowly raised his head. Unbeknownst to them, 5 figures had appeared nearby, their eyes greedily fixated on the 2 Hearts of Thunder in Mu Lingshan's hand. It seemed trouble had found them once again. There are plenty of Hearts of Thunder elsewhere. I advise you to go collect them properly instead of making rash decisions that might cost you dearly. Lindong said coolly, his gaze locking onto the 5 people. He could sense that these individuals were no pushovers. 4 of them had reached the peak of great completion in the life mystique stage, while the bald man leading them had fully achieved perfect completion of the life mystique stage. Their strength was considerable. Huh, you sure talk big, the bald man sneered, his eyes flashing coldly. He glanced at Mu Lingshan. Clearly, he knew of her reputation, and under normal circumstances, he wouldn't want to provoke this little menace. But the allure of the Hearts of Thunder was too much, and rationality was slipping away. What's so impressive? There are only 2 of you. Are you saying the 5 of us should fear you? We're not unreasonable. Just hand over half of your Hearts of Thunder, and we'll leave. How about that? Another man mocked with a cold laugh. Give you half? Lindong's lips curled into a faint smile. Then, in a soft voice, he asked, I wonder, how many Hearts of Thunder do you 5 have? Boy, are you thinking of taking what we have to? The bald man's face darkened, and his eyes flashed with vicious intent as he caught the meaning behind Lindong's words. Exactly, Lindong replied, his smile widening into something colder. The next instant, his figure shot forward like an arrow. Lingshan, take action. At Lindong's command, Mu Lingshan flipped her small hand, quickly storing the 2 Hearts of Thunder into her cosmic bag. The life and death coffin lid reappeared in her hand as she let out a cold snort, charging forward without hesitation. These people dared to covet her treasures, and she wouldn't let them off easily. Lindong's target was the bald man, whose strength had reached perfect completion of the life mystique stage. 10 strands of azure dragon light runes wrapped around his body, exuding a powerful energy with every move he made. His speed was astonishing. In a blink, he was in front of the bald man and launched a fierce punch. His arms surged with the might of the 10 azure dragon light runes, and a faint dragon roar echoed in the air. Humph! The bald man's body flickered with a faint black light as his skin hardened, turning his body into something resembling forged iron. Clearly, he was a formidable opponent skilled in physical combat. Boom! Their fists collided violently, and an overwhelming shockwave rippled through the air. The surrounding thunder slurry suddenly exploded. Lindong's body trembled slightly as his devouring power surged, instantly absorbing the invading force. In contrast, the bald man was forced back several steps. Well, you're tougher than I thought, the bald man muttered through gritted teeth. His face turned serious. From that punch alone, he realized Lindong's physical strength surpassed his own. Lindong clenched his fist and grinned at the bald man. Without giving him a moment to recover, he lunged forward once again, his body enveloped in azure light, pressing the attack relentlessly. While Lin Dong battled the bald man, Mu Lingshan engaged the remaining four at the peak of great completion in the life mystique stage. Wielding the life and death coffin lid, she swung it with precision. At this moment, they finally felt a wave of regret. It seemed that Mu Lingshan's ability to dominate the island before wasn't without reason. She clearly possessed significant strength. However, regretting now was pointless. Excitement flickered in Mu Lingshan's large eyes, as the four before her seemed to have transformed into plump sheep, delivering the heart of thunder right to her doorstep. Missing this opportunity would be absolutely unjustifiable. Boom, boom. A fierce battle erupted in the depths of the Thunder Rock Ravine, though it didn't last long. With swift and decisive moves, Mu Lingshan quickly defeated the four experts, who were all at the peak of great completion in the life mystique stage. Without any hesitation, she snatched the four hearts of thunder from their hands. Meanwhile, on Lin Dong's side, the bald man was starting to struggle. His attacks landed on Lin Dong with no effect, while Lin Dong's blows caused him excruciating pain. It was clear that their physical strength was on completely different levels. You win this time. Let's go. After another heavy clash, the bald man was sent flying backward in a sorry state. A metallic taste rose in his throat as he looked at Lin Dong, who stood there smiling and flexing his fists. Glancing at his four severely injured companions, the bald man gritted his teeth and decisively retreated. Seeing him flee, the four others could only wear grim expressions as they quickly followed. Lin Dong watched them with a cheerful grin but made no move to chase them. He didn't have time for that now. Just as Lin Dong was watching the five retreat, his pupils suddenly contracted. He looked down, and from the depths of the Thunder Rock Ravine, a dozen shadowy figures shot out like phantoms, slamming into the five as they tried to escape. Splat! The four experts at the peak of great completion in the life mystique stage instantly turned pale and slowly looked down at their chests, where shriveled hands had pierced through their hearts. The owner of those hands? A silver corpse, its entire body glowing with a metallic sheen, and black flames flickering in its hollow eye sockets. Splat! The last one, the expert at the perfect completion of the life mystique stage, managed to survive, though he spat blood as he was sent flying. His face was full of terror as he stared at the silver corpses that had ambushed them. Lingshan, we're leaving? Lin Dong's eyes narrowed as he witnessed this. Without a second thought, he grabbed Mu Lingshan and shot off in the opposite direction, not caring about the unfortunate survivor. At that moment, Lin Dong clearly saw countless silver corpses swarming from the depths of the Thunder Rock Ravine.